Hello everyone, it's Sandra here and we are looking in on Eat My Shorts. I've obviously been using Eat My Shorts as a storage tote for little bake cups and bits of plastic. It's got so much room here. I tend to do that because I know if there are worms on these pieces of bubble plastic that I throw in from time to time, that they could crawl out and find safe haven in Eat My Shorts. So I've got these containers also that I've been using to move worms around, you know that. I move them out to the side. Even the lid of the containers I use to move worms around. Often I still find worms in them. I don't see any right now, but I'm putting them actually in the castings that I pulled out of Eat My Shorts 8 days ago, so I don't mind if the worms crawl out there. So there's some shiny things on the surface. What are these? Oh, this is our bag, our compost bag. And look at this shiny material that is the cellulose liner. It is easily breaking up into pieces, very easily. Does that mean these compost bags are 100% compostable? Wow, there's another little bit of the plastic. I'm calling it plastic. It is cellulose. All right, let's turn this over and see whether the bags have gone. I'm seeing avocado shells, which were in the bags. Bit of shorts material, a worm, beautiful castings. This was just harvested 8 days ago. So now I don't pull out all the castings. I'm finding bits of Eat My Shorts, the shorts material, the waistband, which I added later. Finding worms, lots and lots of beautiful, beautiful worms from Eat My Shorts. Lots and lots. Beautiful worms. Don't want them to fall from this height. Don't know whether they like going to fairgrounds. Okay, so I see lots of castings where there was bag. I see little bits of this shiny stuff. Oh, here's a bigger piece of the bag. So let's see. Let's see what's happening to our bag. It is so fragile, just with its own heavy weight from being moist. It's just ripping into pieces. There are worms on it. Now, cellulose, correct me if I'm wrong, is a product of the paper, pulp and paper industry, and not a product of the corn industry. I'll look that up and put something on screen to make sure. Either way, it should be edible by worms if it hasn't been processed in a way that makes it inedible. And by that, I don't mean toxic. I just mean they can't process it at these low temperatures. Okay, this is a worm ball-ish, not as beautiful as plant-obsessed worm balls, but this is a worm ball-ish around a feeding zone from 8 days ago. Let's try a little bit more to the corner. Turn that material. You can see the leaves that I added as new bedding. This is our partly processed 8-month-old leaf mold that I used as bedding. So this bin is, the worms, of course, are doing great. I can see juveniles, see lots of tiny ones right in this cluster, some tiny ones. This looks like where the teenagers are hanging out. Not wisps, but these look like all teenage worms. Little, no clitellum, just hanging out. This must be the clubhouse where the teens hang out. Okay, so the bag, see, it just rips under its own weight. I'm going to move it to this right-hand side on my view here, and anytime I find bits of the bag, I will try to throw them over there. Here's another. Now I've put 2 bags total in this system. And So I don't know whether I'm going to add another bag today because there's still quite a bit of bag left, but I will add some other bedding today. Now, what is this black thing? Looks like a stem of something. And the worms are in it, so I'm not going to mess with that. If the worms are eating it, leave them alone. All right, there's more of the bag. Goes over there. This is just, you know, larger bits of bedding, more bag. Okay, let's turn over this corner. Other than the shorts material, the smaller bits of material, like the shorts and the cellulose from the compost bags, you know, this material is beautiful casting still. I did not do a total harvest. I left some of the bin intact, about, I would say 3/8, so not quite half of the bin was left intact. So there are still lots of good castings in here that are being mixed in with the new bedding materials. All right, so I'll keep the eat my short stuff to the left and pull any obvious compost bag material to the right. Try to have a choice for the worms. Which way do you want to go? Do you want to go cotton or do you want to go cellulose? So, okay, as bedding. And the cotton is long-term bedding, but it is bedding because it is also a plant derived from plants. All right, so the cotton is on the left, largely. The paper bags are on the right. Okay, and we have worm crawlers. Just because this bin has such depth to it, when I start fluffing, I always get 3 or 4 of them decide to go for a walk. All right, they'll turn around. Okay, so I do need to feed today. So what's happening is Eat My Shorts and Peekaboo, his next door neighbor, as you know, are repositories for worms, and I will be adding the contents of this bin, not in its entirety, but in mostly to Gilligan when I restart my turtle worm system for the winter, for the fall and winter. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to add a really tempting feeding. This is some processed of our regular food, which quite frankly is mostly tea leaves, avocado peels, and asparagus stems. Not a lot of fruit goes in our puree because most of the fruit that we eat is berries, and we eat all of it. But we did, when Micah was here, we did have watermelons. So there's grit already in this material. So this is all good for the worms, very, very tempting. And so I also want to add a little bit more bedding because even though this compost bag looks like it is breaking down, I just want to make sure that the worms have something to chow down on in terms of carbon in the area of their feeding as well. So what I've got is some more of the beautiful leaf mold. I've got enough of this that I'm now using this as bedding for most of my worm bins. And you see, when you get the leaf mold away from the stems of the needles and stuff, you can see how this will eventually break down. Leaf mold, it will break down to something that looks like soil. So you can still see leaves in here, which means this is not broken down leaf mold. But I can also tell you this has been kept uniformly moist through the 8+ months now that we've had it going. And so there are worms in here, and they are continuing the process to do their part to break it down. So this is not like adding leaves to your bin. This is well on its way to being broken down, and I'm doing an experiment with a leaf mold only worm bin, And I can tell you, the processing of the material is incredibly fast. All right, so I'm going to add some of that. Oh yes, and see, in leaf mold, I think you find, oh, I guess he went under, you find worms. Okay, so I'm going to add some of the leaf mold to the, what is going to be the feeding area. Then I'm going to add this watermelon and the pulverized food, and that'll go here. Now the watermelon doesn't have grit in it, but this pulverized food does. So there's not only a pH buffer, but also just grit for their gizzard in this feeding. The watermelon was sitting on this feeding, and look how wet it is. Like I said, my feedings are not normally this wet because, you know, it's tea leaves and you know, asparagus peels, sometimes the odd banana peel ground up. So it's usually, my feedings are usually pretty dry, but that feeding was like slop because I had the watermelon sitting out thawing on it. Interesting. Okay, so this is obviously a very wet feeding. So I'm kind of second guessing putting more leaf mold on top because that is very wet. I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to add, my hands are clear of anything that looks like worms. I'm going to add cardboard. Not that I'm worried if we end up just putting this all into Gilligan, because that'll just be sitting in there for 6 months. But there you go. So I've topped that up with dry cardboard, and then I will just pull over some of these vermicompost castings. I know that's the waistband trying to come over. I will bury that after I pull over. So I've pulled over some so the worms will start finding their way into that. And I will just make a trench here and make sure the large waistband of my shorts is buried. It looks like what I'm going to do, I always, you know, kind of change my plans on the fly, it seems, with my worms. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out, like I did the other day, pull out castings. I'm going to pull out this semi-processed material, probably pull out 3/4 of it and give worms and all to Gilligan, leaving just a little bit in Eat My Shorts. And it's probably going to be the shorts, any shorts fragments that I can easily spot, like I've just done, move them to one side. And so by the looks of it, when I pull out material for Gilligan in the next, well, it could even be a few days, it will likely be from this end of the bin over. I'll leave the shorts end of the bin, any worms that are in the shorts end of the bin, I will leave them to stay in Eat My Shorts. And I'm hoping with the watermelon in, you know, certainly 4 or 5 days, there will be a cluster of worms over here at the feeding zone, and all of this will get moved to form part of the bedding in Gilligan. All right, everyone, that's it for today. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye for now.